For Filipino and other products from Asia, as well as fresh fruits and vegetables, poultry, meats, and seafood, come and visit 88 Supermarket with branches at 4801 Victoria Drive and its new location at 2611 East 49th Avenue in Vancouver.
Dollar Smart 99 cents App Store, located at 4811 Diesel Beach Way in Richmond. Telephone number 604-207-0072.
Philippine News Canada is brought to you by Rayford Media Group.
Hello mga kabayan! Narito na ang pinalawak at pinalakas na coverage ng Philippine News Canada, Balitang Vancouver Nationwide. Mga pangunahing balitang nakalap ng aming news team para sa linggong ito. Mula dito sa Surrey, ako po si Rosette Correa. At ito, ang Philippine News Canada, Balitang Vancouver. TransLink nagkakaproblema. Nagkakaproblema ang TransLink sa gitna ng pandemic crisis dahil sa unti-unting paglaho ng mga pasahero sa lahat ng transport vehicles nito. Kahit na may significant cuts to services and other expenditures to date, ang ridership nito ay bumagsak sa 83% at makakaramdam ito ng revenue losses of 50 million per month this year, down by 25 million from the previous rate of 75 million per month. Mga 1,500 employees na ang nakikitang male-lay off. Naglabas ang TransLink ng 4 na plausible scenarios for their operations in 2020 dahil na rin sa fare and fuel tax revenue na babagsak sa susunod na mga buwan. Ang quick recovery scenario ay magkakaroon ng shortfall of 570 million kung matutuloy ang pagbukas ng mga public businesses and sectors by July. Ang lasting impacts na matatapos din ng Canada Day ay sasamahan ng 4-year depression which would create Ang lasting impacts na matatapos din ng Canada Day ay sasamahan ng 4-year depression which would create a hit of 650 million. Ang hibernation scenario naman na matatapos sa loob ng 12 months ay magreresulta ng 680 million cut in revenues accounting for a 1-year recession. Ang pinakamatagal na paradigm shift scenario ay kung sakaling ang physical distancing ay matapos sa loob ng 18 months with a 2020 shortfall of 680 million as well, ngunit magkakaroon ng 4-year depression. Ang financial impact spilling over into 2021 for the 4 scenarios range between $120 million for quick recovery and $885 million for paradigm shift. Sa total financial impact naman, over the full impact periods, ang best case scenario will create a shortfall of 710 million, while the worst case scenario could come to a total of 3.25 billion. Magandang hapon po mga kababayan. We're here right now this afternoon. Kasama natin sa isang interview ang isa sa mga most respected politicians in the community, especially because she's always there for our gatherings and for our events and really supporting us all throughout anything that happens in the Filipino community. Please welcome this afternoon Senator Yona Martin. Hello, Senator.
Hello, Rosette. Thank you for having me on the show. I've always felt like a cousin or an honorary Filipina.
Absolutely.
Because of the history of Korea and the Philippines and bloodshed that was on the peninsula. And as Canadians, I'm really feel like I'm part of the community. So I'm happy to have this opportunity to speak to everyone.
Well, thank you so much for allowing us to do this interview this afternoon.
Oh,
Okay.
my pleasure. I know how hard you're working, and this information is very important to the community.
So, what's been happening in the Senate, in with all that's happening with COVID-19? We know that everybody is so busy trying to put together measures that can help our communities. And what are these measures that are being taken to provide assistance? I know that your heart goes out to a lot of small businesses. And we know that there are a lot of Filipino businesses that are currently closed or are not functioning at the moment because of the COVID-19 pandemic. Can you tell us a little bit more about the assistance that is being given to them?
Provincially that have been announced. And I know there's an information package that your viewers can directly access. I'm not sure if it's available on your website per se, but it's available to everyone, and it will detail all the different types of benefits that are part of the government packages. In terms of small business, I'm seeing just from the calls that we are getting, emails, different constituents or business people and individuals reaching out, that there's lots of there are gaps still in what is being offered. So in terms of businesses, of course, there's interest-free loans that now there's a wider criteria. So the payroll has to be, a minimum of 20,000 in the previous year, upwards of 1.5 million. That's a pretty large range. But when we talk about small businesses that families run, that payroll is still a lot of money to go out when day to day there are so many other expenses, so many taxes to pay at all three levels. So it doesn't leave very much. So I'm still seeing from my office and my staff when we hear from constituents that there are those that do not qualify. So these loans are being made available to small businesses, but it's not for everyone, and they have to it depends on whether their main account is at a bank or even a larger credit union that may already have accreditation through a loan that is through, for instance, overseen by the BDC and the Business Development Canada or EDC, Export Development Canada. But some of the smaller credit unions, and there's quite a few of them across Canada, and I'm sure that some of the members in the community who do business will have accounts at these smaller credit unions. They're still waiting. The credit unions are still waiting for accreditation and other processes to happen. So there is support for loans, but it also means it's incurring more debt. And there's wage subsidy of upwards of 75% for businesses who don't want to let go of. They want to retain their staff, and then of course anyone who's laid off can also apply to the CERB program. But again, there are certain people who don't meet the threshold, and businesses that won't meet the threshold. So we see that there are gaps, and that's an area that we're continuing to ask questions about to try and help as many people as possible.
Now, you mentioned something that there was an update as to the gaps, because as I understand from your explanation that the big banks and the other agencies that would really help these small businesses are actually putting in some restrictions that may not be applicable to all small businesses. Can you tell us a little bit more about that?
Well, it's a conversation I had quite recently with somebody in a credit union that's a smaller credit union compared to larger, more recognized ones. But one of the loans programs, the Canada Emergency Business Account, in order to qualify for a $40,000 interest-free interest-free loan if it's paid back within a certain time period. If a business has a main account at a credit union, that credit union may not be accredited through EDC, which Export Development Canada, which is a very specific financial body that provides the support to businesses. But the credit unions are not all accredited right now to qualify to enter into financial agreements, loan agreements with businesses. So if a business person has an account at a smaller credit union that hasn't yet been accredited, what the credit unions are waiting for is the accreditation to still happen. That will take a little bit of time. They're told that maybe by the end of April, they will be accredited. But then they're all going to have to wait for a certain template that they can use to enter into these agreements. So the problem is that the government makes these announcements and they're programs that we need. So I'm not going to deny that. But the details are missing and it's not fully communicated to these credit unions or lenders in order to enter into these agreements with businesses. So everyone is just still waiting. And so my fear is that end of April, there's payroll, there's rent, and these businesses cannot wait even another day. They're already behind. So the fact that these gaps still exist, everyone's waiting because announcements were made, but the details were not, clearly communicated to the actual credit unions themselves. So this really concerns me. So I feel like businesses will wait and they will fall through the cracks while they're waiting.
So, Senator Martin, why do you think the small businesses are really the most affected in this time of crisis?
Well, our small businesses are truly the backbone of our economy, and we say this in words. And what I've noticed over this during this period of the COVID-19 crisis is how vulnerable the small businesses are and how important we have to make some special consideration of these micro businesses, like the mom and pop shop-owned businesses and family-owned businesses where there may only be, a part-time employee and the rest is the work, the tireless work of the family, be it the entire family or those who can. So I've seen so many of these businesses in my lifetime. My parents did not own a small business, but so many of my friends worked in the businesses when they could, and what their parents did, sometimes 16, 20 hours. They might even work through the night if they had to make ends meet, and they put their children through school. And so I understand so intimately how hard all these small businesses work, and they are being asked by every level of government to pay taxes, which they do. They are asked to be law-abiding with contraband, cigarettes or whatnot, and they follow every law to the T. There's so much red tape. But I think they just don't have any additional room to do more or to lose any less of their business. So to no fault of their own, they've been asked to follow the health guidelines, and they have closed their stores, many of them, to prevent the spread. And so they're needing help right away, not the delays that we are seeing. So even if government does set up these loan programs and or wage subsidy programs, it's just taking so long, and every second, every day does count. So I do find that with our small businesses, our micro businesses, family-owned businesses, I wish that all levels of government would have the politicians or the officials either worked in a small business or know what it's like to run those small businesses. Perhaps we would feel the urgency, all of us, and do more. And so I just see how vulnerable they are, and my heart goes out to every single one of those businesses and thank them for just surviving, for contributing, in the ways that they still do. And I really admire them and want to just support them as much as I can.
For Filipino and other products from Asia, as well as fresh fruits and vegetables, poultry, meats, and seafood, come and visit 88 Supermarket with branches at 4801 Victoria Drive and its new location at 2611 East 49th Avenue in Vancouver.
Dollar Smart 99 cents Op Store, located at 4811 Diesel Beach Way in Richmond. Telephone number 604-207-0072.
You know, through the efforts of the government and what we have in place, what are the plans of the Conservative Party to help these small businesses and all the other members of all the public sectors through this entire crisis?
Well, I know the Conservative government historically and in the time that I have been senator, we have always spoken about the importance of small businesses to our Canadian economy from coast to coast to coast in some of the most remote places where often it's the new immigrants who just the work ethic speak for themselves and they will survive. They will offer these essential services by operating these businesses in the most difficult of places. So I know we've always championed small businesses, and right now we have some MPs like Anna Albus and James Cummings and others who have been working daily, working together as well as critics or shadow ministers on overseeing these files to bring some of the key issues to the government, to the ministers, their counterparts, to ask for change, ask for tweaks, ask for certain added measures. So, for instance, I know one of some of the constructive solutions that we have given to government today is to rebate the GST to small businesses that have collected it in the last year, to temporarily allow owner operators to become wage earning employees so that they can qualify for the wage subsidy, to lift the 40,000 interest-free loan cap on the Canada Emergency Business Account. First of all, we need to have the business be able to enter into these agreements faster through even some of the credit unions, but to lift the cap that banks and credit unions are now delivering, like not all but some, so that the business can borrow the cash needed to pay their employees now and pay it back once the CRA deposits their wage subsidy to their account. So this lag time to access the funds, like they need the cash flow because they need to pay the rent. They need to pay bills and pay their employees if they're going to survive this COVID-19 crisis and stay in business. So these are just some of the measures that we've asked the government to consider. And of course, there's charities and community organizations, many of which I have met and admire in the Filipino community. So we've also talked about temporarily increasing the charitable donation tax credit for this calendar year so that it just encourages those who can give to give more.
You also mentioned something earlier about the deferral of rent for the small businesses. Is there anything in place that would help these small businesses with their current rent situation? Because I know that rent depends on the landlord. It depends on who's renting out the space to them. What can be done to help these small businesses with that?
This is actually one of the most urgent and challenging, I think, issues, because instead of the government having very clear programs in place to either put more money in the pockets of the businesses so that they could pay rent, what they've done instead is they have made an announcement, the Canada Emergency Commercial Rent Assistance Program. It sounds good, and it's to try and provide loans, including forgivable loans to commercial property owners to then lower their rent, to their renters, or forego, the rent of small businesses for, April, May, and June. So it all sounds very good in sort of policy, but there's very little detail as to how this will actually happen and when. I know the federal government still has to, have conversations with the provinces and territories because this is their jurisdiction. And so what we have now is the landlords and tenant tension that is just heightened to the nth degree. So it really is an unfortunate, situation where the commercial owners, landlords, they have to pay their bills. And with what has happened, they're not seeing the huge relief, and therefore they're not able to pass it down to to their renters. But it's this sort of catch-22, like one can't happen without the other, and everyone is still sort of waiting. So we're waiting for details, and we hope that there can be relief, because the lifeline and the future of the small business, like whether they stay open or not, depends on it.
Having a daughter who is not working right now, I have this feeling, the CERB and whatever's being offered to EI, I have a feeling that this is going to end at some time. Do you think that the policies that are set in order to provide income for families who are losing income is enough? Is there something else that needs to be done in order to help families and individuals, aside from small businesses, that would help them tide through what is happening right now?
I wish I had answers that can, offer relief and these assurances. So I guess in British Columbia, we are seeing some light at the end of the tunnel in terms of this first wave. We know that other countries are experiencing the second wave, and we know from history, the Spanish flu, there were, second and third wave. So we have to be mindful of how quickly we do things, but at the same time, what we are seeing are just millions of people out of work and families so vulnerable. And so I share your concerns, Rosette, and I wish that I have an answer. But what I can say is, Parliament is resuming in a limited capacity. But, when the Prime Minister comes out at 11 a.m. to do his announcement and goes right back in, yes, we're all working, but the government has to be asked very tough questions and be held to account to the programs that they are running, what this will cost, and how are we going to even begin to get out of this, not just the COVID-19 crisis, but this economic crisis, because there's so many, it's a perfect storm of so many things happening. So it's very concerning for me as well. So I hope that, what we're doing is we're all doing our part. And I'm one of the BC senators, so I didn't get to go to Ottawa when there were emergency sittings, because to get on a plane, like I would be the carrier that could bring things back and forth. My mother is in care, and I want to be able to see her when, that is lifted. So I do get reports from her each day, but I just have to think about, my responsibility to my own family. But so I plug in, I watch from afar, and my colleagues that are in Senate and those that are now in the House now, they are working so hard. And even from a distance, sometimes I'm online from 7 a.m. to 1 a.m. So we are working hard to try and ask the questions, push on things that we need to see. So I just hope that what I'm saying is giving some assurance to everyone that, myself and others, we're all working very, very hard to try and meet the most urgent needs, as well as plan for the future, so we can get out of this in some way for the future of our children and our grandchildren.
Any last words for our viewers and for all the citizens in Canada?
I want to thank you, Rosette, and all the people that are working with you to, in essence, keep this lifeline for the community, because in this, imagine if we were living in the early 1900s and unable to communicate and know what is going on. So information is an absolute important lifeline. So thank you for your service to the community and what you do every day. And to the Filipino community that are watching, really across Canada, I know that you are one of the, I think you are the fastest growing ethnic community in Canada. And I personally know so many amazing members of the community who are working on the front lines, who are working in so many places, including in businesses, contributing in important ways to our society. So one of the care workers at my mother's care home is a Filipina, and whenever she's on, she will call me or FaceTime. And it is my Lifeline to make sure that my mother is okay. And so just the care with which members of the community are working. I just want to thank you and for you to know that as a cousin to the community, or sometimes I say honorary Filipina, I'm here and my office is available, and MPs and MLAs and local authorities are available to you as well. But I hope that you see me as one of your champions on the Hill, and I look forward to being able to celebrate things in the future with the community as I have, and to see many of you, those of you especially in the Lower Mainland. So God bless you all.
Thank you so much, Senator Martin, and God bless you too. And thank you so much for the information and for the care that you have for the community. And more power to you. And we'll see you soon, maybe in another interview.
Thank you.
Nagpapasalamat po kami sa aming mga sponsors, ang 99 Cents and Up Store sa Richmond, ang Kabalen Suites Restaurant and Catering sa New Westminster, at ang 88 Supermarket sa Victoria Drive at Killarney Market. Maraming salamat po. At dito na naman nagtatapos ang balita namin para sa linggong ito. Kung kayo may mga komento, mga issue o balitang nais nyong ibahagi sa aming programa, ang PNC ay bukas para sa inyong lahat. Mag-email lamang po sa balitangvancouver@gmail.com o tumawag sa 604-588-6397. Mula po dito sa Surrey, nagsa-social distancing pa rin, ako po si Rosette Correa. At ito, ang Philippine News Canada, Balitang Vancouver.
For Filipino and other products from Asia, as well as fresh fruits and vegetables, poultry, meats, and seafood, come and visit 88 Supermarket with branches at 4801 Victoria Drive and its new location at 2611 East 49th Avenue in Vancouver.
Dollar Smart 99 Cents Op Store, located at 4811 Diesel Beach Way in Richmond. Telephone number 604-207-0072.